carry out its solidity, so solidify itself. Now this is caused by again, the pressure of our Buddha nature for us to lower our barriers. So our unity with reality is constant, caused by the dimension can be experienced as reality reaching from us, from its own side. It can be confused with the activity of a personal God because it feels like something coming towards us. But this is caused by an artificial boundary we've created in the first place between our Buddha nature and ourselves, reality and ourselves. We took ourselves to be separate, solid, and independent. So it's kind of like a projection that comes back because the boundary is artificial. And that's the nature of projection. Projection tends to then come back and it can feel friendly or it can feel threatening, as in the case of paranoia. Buddha nature is not the property of any one being. It is shared equally by all beings. It's not my mind alone. It's all our minds, our wisdom minds. It's the ultimately real. Think of the example of computers and the terminals. There may be 10 terminals that feed off one central computer unit. The one mind, so to speak, is the central unit, and each of us is unaware that we're drawing from that same central processing unit. We think we have one individual processing unit each, but that's not so. There's one mind, one wisdom mind. Cannot be grasped intellectually, but it can be experienced. Source of Buddha qualities. It's called Rikpa, or the nature of mind. Now, what are the implications of the Buddhist view, or the Buddhist experience, is based on the experience of wisdom mind? When we speak about the nature of God, if we can speak of God in Buddhism, which is, it's said that there's no God in Buddhism, no creator God, certainly. Most of that history comes from the debate with Hinduism, the denial of creator God Brahma. But it applies to the prophetic traditions a great deal. But one thing is, God is not all powerful. Not all powerful because if He's all loving, and there's evidence of Buddha nature basically being constituted of love and compassion. If Buddha nature is all loving, if the Buddhas are all loving, and if they were all powerful, we'd all be liberated by now. So obviously God is not all powerful if He is all loving. He is not all knowing because He or she, or it, because all knowing of the future would imply a lack of free will. I mean, that seeming so-called paradox that God would be all knowing and know everything that we're going to decide in the next 50 years, and yet we have free will. That makes no sense. So God does not know what we will do tomorrow because we have free will. The Buddhas are omniscient, but they also are not all powerful. They do work continuously for our free will. God does not willfully participate in the events of history. History evolves according to the principles of nature and of reality. Buddhas and other beings intervene, but they're limited by their own power, just as we are limited. There's no plan for the evolution of the world. The world evolves according to karma, and at some point the world system ends, and another world system is created. There's many world systems, and obviously there's no plan, and there's no alpha and omega point. It's basically run by karma. It runs its course, then the cosmos is set to end, and that's how it works. There's not a divine plan, but it's the nature of existence of what. That's it. God does not demand obedience. There's no reward or punishment. It's built into the laws of nature, the laws of karma. So there's no reward system, no punishment system. We don't need to worry about making God angry or not angry or pleasing God. It's sort of infantile, childish kind of thing. We engage in virtuous actions. We accumulate positive karma. Negative actions, negative karma. And eventually the goal is really to step out of the cycle of karma, the ladder of karma, into free being, such as that of the Buddha or a Buddha. And finally, we could say that our Buddha nature is God. That is, the God that we have just described, God that is not omniscient, God that is not all-powerful. However, there is a certain degree of omniscience in the alaya, and in the alaya, which is the womb of the enlightened mind, the depository. There is the connection with all beings and the mind of all beings, so there's knowledge through the mind of all beings. And there is the capacity to do that, and the Buddha, of course, has that capacity, which is part of what gives the Buddha the power to liberate beings, although that still is limited to some degree. So yes, we could speak about God and Buddhism as long as we understand the dimensions that were just outlined. It's the same thing, the one mind, the wisdom mind, the mind of clear light, which is experiences nothing, and yet it's cognitive and lucid and has all the Buddha qualities. So it's not nothing. It's full of Buddha qualities. And it's what's ultimately real, as opposed to all the phenomena, the famous cup, and so on. Well, I hope that proved to be of some interest. I know I was reading and getting lost in the reading, but I wrote an essay on that too. You can email me and request the actual text of the essay if you wish. Tashi Derek.